What's up, guys? It's Steve from GameSmart, back with another TFT VOD review for you guys. Today we're going to be playing some Keepers. Uh, really appreciate all of the support we've been getting, and just a reminder to like and subscribe if you've been enjoying, and it really helps out the channel. And feel free to let me know if there's any other games you'd like to get GameSmart with. But today we're going to be looking at a Keepers VOD of mine that I played at the Diamond 3 ELO. So Keepers is a really popular comp. You see it played in half the games out there. Definitely towards the higher elo, you'll see it in a lot of games. And it's a really popular transition build because it builds really well out of Keeper Cultist, which is a super popular opening, and it's really strong, really consistently placing in the top 4. So the Keeper transition into the mid game is super free elo right now, guys. Has been for a couple weeks now, and today I'm also just gonna let you guys know how to play it and position it a bit better to get the most out of it. Item priority is definitely Rod, and then your GA components for the Kennen. Morello and GA are the two most important items in this build. After that, it's definitely Hodge and another GA for your Xayah, and we'll go from there. Everything else is nice, but yeah, definitely Morello, GAs, and a Hodge is what you're looking for to run this build. As far as the positioning goes, though, it's really about having your keepers all stacked up so that they're sharing the shields. The shields are twice as strong as on keepers, so they're all sharing the shields. And then you've got your Azir Sand Soldiers in the back corners to prevent Lee Sin kicks, as well as to disrupt ASOL ults, and yeah, just having them in the corner is really good, guys. Definitely do that. But the most important piece probably, and the piece that a lot of people don't value as heavily, is having this Aatrox right next to your Kennen. So having your Kennen in the front line is going to have him ulting early, and then the GA will bring him back, and the Morello does all the damage. So having them between the two Vanguards is really good, but having the Aatrox pulling the carries from the corners is really what makes this build creme de la creme. Anyways, we're going to hop into the VOD now, and let's see how it goes. We actually get a very interesting start. We get a double coin start, so I'm actually able to sell off my whole bench here and just throw in the level 1 Tahm Kench, which is enough to get us through 1-3. That's a little advanced tip for some of the newer players there, is that Tahm Kench is actually one of the few champions that's going to have no problem taking on the second round of neutral creeps by himself. Yeah, and immediately afterwards we're going to pick up this sharpshooter chosen Tristana, which is really strong. I grabbed the Diana to go along with it. I'm kind of thinking, hey, I might actually, I've got a great econ early. I'm super flexible, but depending on how things shake out, maybe I'll run the Spirit Sharpshooter build, which will be featured in, I'm sure, another one of my VODs coming up soon. So stay tuned for that, guys, if you want to know how to play the Spirit Sharpshooter build that I'm sure you've seen wreaking havoc on the ranked ladder right now. Everybody's playing it. So yeah, I'm able to make some switches around, get the Darius out of the orb, just going to sell it, make some change, and feeling pretty good with this 2-starred frontline, 2-star backline, really strong opener. So I've got the Sharpshooter, Tristana, who's going to do a lot of work on her own, and then I've also, I'm just thinking about building a frontline for her currently. Taking a look around, there's a couple players already running Spirit, a couple players already running Sharpshooters. It looks like both Nidalee and Tristana are quite heavily contested already. So here's one of the players actually now is playing against it. And yeah, we've got a pretty strong 2-1 here between the chosen Tristana and the natural 2-star Maokai. So we're feeling pretty confident, but we're also feeling like, it's pretty contested, the Spirit Sharpshooter build. We may as well play something else. We still do pick up this Tristana just sort of to grief the rest of the lobby that's playing it, and throw in the Zed because Zed is super strong early on. We're thinking about going to level 4 here. Yeah, we actually do, because we realize we can go to level 4, we're not playing the reroll build, and we can still make econ here. Yeah, there we go, selling off the Vanguards to make eco. We could sell off the Lulu too, but may as well hold on to it for now. So right now we're feeling pretty good. We've got the brawler pair and the Tristana that's doing a lot of the DPS from the background, as well as the Zed that's getting to be a backline threat. So we're going to go ahead and 4-0 this DZN VIP guy, and yeah, we're going to keep rolling through round 2 here. A really strong early game from the coin start. So at this point, I'm really considering how I can make my board stronger. I should probably go ahead and slam one of the items on my front line just to give them a bit more protection. I could honestly slam both of them, one on the Maokai, let's say the Giant's Cloak on the Tom, and the other one on the Maokai, for example, would probably be best allocation of it. But yeah, that could have maybe potentially bought my Tristana more time to win this one. So unfortunately, the win streak dream is shattered, but it's not all lost here. We're actually able to get up to 20 econ at 2-4, which is super, super huge here. And looking at my items, I knew I didn't want to go the Tristana reroll build, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to go yet. But whenever I'm not sure what I want to play going into the mid game, I always check for keepers, and I get really fortunate here with the 3 spatulas being up, which means people are obviously going to grab the spatulas early, which yes is probably the right call, but it means that I get this NLR, needlessly large rod, Kennen, which is huge, huge, huge. And at this point, I have all the direction I need. I know I've got the Morello I can slam. I've got the magic resistance belt, which with another NLR would be my iconic spark, which is another core item on Kennen. And I'm generally feeling pretty good about it. So I go ahead, I slam the Morello, I get my Kennen in there, I activate the Keeper trait, and despite having lost 2-4, which is really unfortunate, we've now got a pretty strong looking board here that we're quite comfortable with. So like I was saying, Kennen's a really good transition, like mid-game comp. It spikes really hard in the mid-game. The reason for that being that Kennen's a 3-cost carry, and so it's a lot easier to 2-star him as opposed to a 4-cost carry. So yeah, basically a lot of people will play Cultist Keeper because there's natural synergies there until stage 3 or stage 4, then they'll sell all their cultists and they'll put in their keeper board, which is a really strong way to consistently get to the top 4. So we got another Kennen here, a Kennen pair, which is quite nice, as well as the Jarvan, and yeah, we're now feeling like we have quite a bit of direction in this game. Despite the fact that we only have 2 keepers in, we're pretty much well on our way to forcing keepers here. And forcing keepers is really easy. It feels like it's not contested that often. I feel like I'm often the only person playing it, and I play keepers quite a bit. So I definitely recommend it to just about anybody out there. It's a pretty easy it's a pretty easy comp to force, because you can start forcing it earlier. When you're trying to force something like Kayle or Slayers with Olaf or something, you have to often be pretty lucky on a high roll to actually successfully force it, or otherwise you just bleed out too early. Whereas keepers, you can get it in really early. I mean, we're in stage 2 here. This is our first real round, and we've already got great direction on where our comp's going. Whereas a lot of people are still kind of like scrambling to find stuff just to stop the bleeding. I mean, there's people taking a lot of damage right now, and we're not only not bleeding out health, but we've also got a plan going into the future, which if anyone has played TFT, you know how important it is to just like know what you're looking for. There's no sense in rolling if you're not sure what you're rolling for. Sure, you might get some inspiration from what you see, what pops up, but it's really difficult to efficiently and successfully use your gold rolling down if you don't have a game plan. So part of what we're doing here on GameSmart is just trying to equip gamers with the the knowledge that they need to be successful in this game. So unfortunately, I got some items I really didn't like from Krugs. I just picked up a bow and a Giant's Belt, the second Giant's Belt. So you definitely want one Giant's Belt in this build for the Morellonomicon, but the second one's kind of awkward, and you don't really have room for a second belt. That being said, we're just going to not slam any items right now and keep ourselves flexible. Usually the rule of thumb is if you have 4 components, you should look to slam an item. But given that I'm in a pretty comfortable position, I've only lost the 1 round, and my board's quite strong with best in slot item slammed on our Kennen already. We're not feeling too bad, and we decide to greed our items for the time being to try and get better items for a better final placement. Yeah, if you're new to the game, I recommend slamming items and like not greeting items at all, just getting them down onto the board to get as much value as you can out of them, but just in the way of having like enough, like in getting them out there early enough so that you use them, because these items right now, these 4 components are doing nothing, sitting there on my bench. But so 3-2 is the natural time to go up to level 6. Unless you're doing a reroll build, you should always go up to level 6 on 3-2. Basically, the reasoning behind this is the fact that if you haven't put any money into experience yet, you'll be level 5 in the lobby. So everyone's going to be at least level 5 by 3-2, so you usually want to be... it's like pretty cheap to go up to level 6. You don't sacrifice too much econ. You can see here I've done an extremely good job this game of managing my econ. So it's currently 3-2, I'm level 6, and I've got 49 gold. So if I win this round, I actually have full econ. And because of the strength of my board, oh, it's going to be close. No, we just barely don't. But still, being in this position is really good. You'll see I have nothing on my bench right now, and that's just goes to the fact that like you want to play this game, you want to be getting by on the least amount possible. So there is definitely an argument to be made that you want to be inflicting as much damage to other players as you want, so you want the strongest board. But I think it's really more of a fine line in that, unless you're win streaking like super hard, of course, that you want to kind of be doing the most you can with the least amount invested. And by that I mean I'm keeping now 50 econ for a while, which is really good. It puts me in a strong position for the later game. I did pick up this Morgana and Kayle. 2 reasons why I did that. One, takes them out of the lobby, so Kayle's usually a pretty contested pick, so I scouted around. There's a lot of duelist players. They might be thinking of a Kayle transition if they have a duelist spat or something like that. There's a few QSSs built and things of that nature, like good attack speed items. So I was thinking there might be some Kayle transitions, so I figured holding one was good. But the other reason I do it is to increase my chances of seeing a Xayah. So I really would like to roll a Xayah here at some point, because that'll help me get to 6 keepers when I eventually find it chosen as well. So yeah, there's not very many 4-cost units in the game, so if you pull a few out, you really increase the chances of seeing the one you're looking for. So this was a bit of a bait carousel. I really wanted a sword to slam a GA. There's no swords on the carousel, so my second item I wanted was a rod, and I don't think there was a rod on the carousel either, so at least not available till I got there. So I had the option to pick from a Kennen with a magic resist, which might not have been a bad idea, but I elected to instead pick up another Giant's Belt. Sorry, not Giant's Belt. Pick up another Chain Vest so I can use the Giant's Belt on my vest, or on my bench, and not feel bad about not having one for a GA. And then I actually decided to roll because I realized part of me really wanted that Kennen too. I've been losing a couple, people are starting to hit, and yeah, finding the Kennen too. I was really just rolling until I've hit 1 or 2 more 2-star units. But seeing how as I hit the Kennen, I figured that was enough for me. Yeah, the 2-star Kennen there does a ton of work, so definitely happy we rolled for that, but also we were pretty fortunate in that we hit it pretty naturally without having to wear down our economy. And at this point, I don't want to roll too much just because I'm level 6, and yeah, we're looking to go level 7 with a good economy, so we're just kind of letting things go naturally here. We're not on a huge win or loss streak, so win or lose, it's not the end of the world. We're definitely going to kill units either way, so we're not too concerned. Bit of scouting around. Yeah, people are starting to hit pretty darn hard in this lobby. There's a couple really scary duelist boards, which is weird because usually duelist is only super scary when one person's rolling it uncontested kind of thing. But this guy's got a really well itemized Yasuo 3 already that just does a ton of work early, and it's just a bit much for our board, unfortunately. So I've made it to Wolves here in a pretty good spot. We're going to go up, sell our Tristana Chosen, which is, it's always good to re-roll your Chosens at neutral rounds because it's just a lot easier to not lose the round, as it were. You can see here I've only got 5 units in, like that's going to have no problem taking care of these wolves, so it gives me just the freedom to look around in my shop a little bit harder, picking up the keepers. Warlord Chosen Jarvan, unfortunate. But we do hit that Xayah, which is really nice. And while we're doing this, we get the mother of all Kayle or Slayer payouts, which is sort of unfortunate because we don't really need any of these bows. I mean, one bow is key, but fortunately we also hit the Keeper Kennen during our roll down here. So yeah, some people will kind of say, hey, you shouldn't, you should wait till after the NPC round to roll your gold because you'll have max interest then. And like, they're right, but also I'm not the fastest re-roller or like board organizer, so I barely got this rearrange in while rolling out through the entire NPC round. So definitely, especially if you're newer to the game and you're learning and you're taking your time, it's more important not to mess up your roll downs. And it's definitely, yeah, just take your time. So despite getting 6 Keeper, and I actually get run over by this guy that's got a pretty scary looking mage board. Yeah, Hodge and Sojins and an NLR on his Asoul is a little sketchy, but for now it's really efficient. And I'm, yeah, in the midst of trying to make the most of my Keeper setup here. I've got 3 Kennens in right now. Oh, just 1 away from a 3-star Kennen, oh baby. So one of the other reasons I really like to transition into Keeper is that it's more reliable to hit than a lot of other comps. And the reason for this is that you often want your Kennen to be your Chosen, and you want to reroll for him at either level 7 or level 8. It doesn't really matter. There's a 2% difference in the chances to hit him. But what I'm saying about it being more reliable is because of the fact that Kennen Chosen will always be Keeper fated. So it'll give you the double Keeper trait, which is obviously what you want to get up to 6 Keepers. And the reason for this is because his only other trait is Ninja, and it would be pretty bad if it gave you 2 Ninja, because the Ninja trait is only active when 1 or 4 Ninjas are in. So yeah, it's always going to be Keeper Kennen, so that just makes it more reliable compared to some of these other Chosens that you're going to be rolling for, where not only are you waiting on the NRG of are you going to see it in your shop, but there's also the RNG of whether it's going to be the correct fate or the correct trait chosen. So yeah, Keeper Kennen, I really love the consistency of being able to roll for it right at level 7. Just way easier and more attainable to get to in a lot of games where, like, as you climb up to higher elo, there's a lot of games where you won't get to level 8 because you had to roll down super aggressively, and level 8 is just out of the question for you because you're just trying to avoid going 8th. So yeah, it's a really consistent board that you can get to, I feel, quite easily out of a lot of things. Like, if you slam an early GA and you have 1 rod, then you're probably able to play this build. That's like probably the minimum requirements for it are the GA and Relinomicon, so you're going to find a giant spell some way or another. So if you have a Rod and a GA, I think that you are good enough to go ahead and start forcing this build, essentially. So we're feeling a bit better about it. We've got our Aatrox in. Aatrox is really important because it basically counters any carry that's not using a QSS, because most people like to put their carries in the corner to get them safe and everything. And Aatrox just pulls those units from the corner into the middle of the board, into your Kennen ult to do a ton of area of effect damage. So they're really synergistic, and like Aatrox is as important as any other unit in this build. Like if you don't have an Aatrox at like going into round 5, you should be rolling for an Aatrox because he is that important. If I didn't have an Aatrox now, I'd be like equally concerned with hitting this like Kennen as the Aatrox. We do actually finally hit our Kennen 3 here, so Kennen 3 is definitely a win condition for this build. Like this build is good, but it doesn't spike as hard as some of the other late game builds, like a good Slayer's board or a great Mage's board or a good Kayle board, for example. And so if you don't hit the 3-star Kennen, it is really tough to actually like top 2 in a lot of lobbies. But hey, when nobody else is playing it, Kennen 3 is definitely on the board, and like definitely should roll for it and seek it out as a win condition. Other win conditions are getting an early Ornn in. So Ornn's really, really good in this build. And the reason for that is obviously the Vanguard tag as well as the Elderwood tag, because you're running Rakan and Xayah, so that's a third Elderwood. But also this team uses just about every Ornn item like incredibly well. If you don't have a GA, a Zhonya is like the next best thing on your Kennen. It's awesome to have the at this point I'm realizing that this guy's got a Swain 2 and he's 100% win streaking through the first 4 rounds here. And that's going to be a little bit of a problem to deal with, this Tron-Cats guy. This is the guy with the mage board that blew us out of the water when we first put in our keeper board, and we're having a much easier time dealing with him now that we've got our Kennen 3-star. Also, his Acel items are just kind of garbo. Like, they're like really good when I slammed him on a fresh Acel when he high rolled it, but at this point it's starting to fall off a bit. So as you can see, looking at my board, I've got my Kennen between my 2 Vanguards, including the Aatrox, which is pretty much the key of it. And then you've got your keepers in the middle all giving each other the shields. I mean, maybe I could put my Xayah right next to my Rakan where the Jarvan is, and then move the Jarvan one square over to shield the Aatrox. But yeah, just nitpicking a little bit. Got some pretty unfortunate items there, but it's round 5, so getting no more components. Time to go up to level 8. Slam every component you have available. For here, I've got a Chalice. Yeah, and I'm just rolling down. Hit my Sejuani, so I've got my Vanguard pair now, which is pretty good. I've pretty much got my full comp here. I'm of course going to be looking for the Azir to replace the Elise with, at which point I'll transfer over the Static Shiv as well to the Azir. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't get perfect items for our Xayah. Really missing both a Hodge and a GA, so that's actually going to be quite a cause for concern here, as people are putting together pretty strong boards. This guy here is the guy that's been 100% win streaking. His level 2 well-itemized Swain is just a lot to handle, to put it mildly. And yeah, it's round 5, so people are starting to hit their comps. Callista 2 just got finished for the guy with the duelist comp, as well as Shen 2. Yeah, he's putting together a pretty scary board with the duelist Spat Janna as well. Everybody that's still alive in this lobby is actually quite strong. This Lai guy is running the Spirit Sharpshooter comp with... he's even hit it pretty hard, but at this point... oh no, he's actually going to take it. Yeah, he's hit it quite hard. He's got the 3-star Trist with pretty good items. Yeah. He must have 4/4 Spirit Sharp at this point, too. Keeper can definitely fall off a little bit, especially if you didn't hit this 3-star Kennen, can definitely fall off a little bit in rounds 5 and 6. But the thing is, we get there with pretty good HP, and this lobby is honestly just quite a strong lobby. So we do hit our Azir here, which is great. Set him up in the back to get double shields and make sure our make sure we corner our Sand Soldiers. Super important. Ooh, a double. Okay, this is actually quite a big hit to get the Azir pair plus the Ornn. And we're able to get our Ornn in there. It's a little bit questionable. Should we put the Ornn in? Should we not? And my reasoning here is that I'm pretty sure I'm going to top 4 with this, but I'm wanting to push the envelope here. And I realize that after the neutral round, if I put my Ornn in, I will get an Ornn item. So I decided to roll the dice. Not that I'm necessarily super strong. I'm actually quite weak, as I'm on a 3-round losing streak here and have 24 health. But hey, sometimes you got to play and take risks, and that's sort of what we're doing here by playing the Ornn. I'm betting that I'm going to survive at least one of the next fights, and then hit a bit of a power spike after the neutral round. So I'm able to secure the Thief's Glove here. Part of me was thinking maybe the Zephyr. The Zephyr is a really strong item or late game, as is Shroud, because they're items that aren't great early on, but gain a lot of value and utility later on in the game. But Thief's Glove is really good if you have like units that are not itemized at all, that can make good use of just about any item. So in that case here, that's this 2-star Aatrox we just hit. So we grief ourselves a little bit not grabbing this Rakan here in our shop, because we're only 3 Rakans away from a 3-star Rakan, and that's probably an out that we could have reasonably expected to hit, given the fact that we're thinking we're going to survive the next 2 rounds. Yeah, it's at this point where I'm definitely getting more and more concerned about the strength of the other boards in the lobby here. With this Talon absolutely popping off, but the Rakan is able to put down the killing blow, at which point I breathe a sigh of relief, because I say, hey, there's no way I'm losing 24 life on in stage 5 to 1 opponent, so that means I'm going to hit my little power spike of the Ornn item. And yeah, here's where I realized I griefed myself. I said, didn't I just see a Rakan? And I realized, yeah, I've got two stars on the board, and I now would be only 1 Rakan away from a 3-star. But at the same time, it's tough to play with this hindsight bias, because we also know that if I would have selected that Rakan in the previous shop, that it would have lowered the probability of me seeing another one. So who knows if I really would have seen this one again. We have the unfortunate luck of, again, drawing Troncat Lulz is the one we're playing, and we actually are pretty scary against him, but there's just no way to kill the Swain. Like, how do you kill Swain, guys? I've got Sunfire Cape for anti-healing, I've got Morella Nomicon for anti-healing, I've got a 3-star Kennen doing % health damage. Like, I built things that should do well against Swain, but That's it's the reality of this game. Sometimes people hit higher than you do. He literally was at level 7, I think, with a 2-star Swain. So, yeah, that's it's tough to play against. And we get a Bloodthirster here, which isn't super helpful. I mean, it's an item, and it's an item that we can put on a carry that's not currently equipped. So yeah, we'll take it, and it's an upgrade, but would have preferred something else. And yeah, at this point I realize I griefed myself super hard with that Rakan. Sell my Ornn because there's no way I'm getting another item, and you shouldn't overgreed for Ornn items. Doing my roll down because I figured it's kind of now or never. Animating Visage probably would have been better on actually placing it on the Kennen, just because he's 3-star and my real carry, and who knows, maybe it would do something different. And again, we're unlucky, and we don't draw against Stronger, but Tron Cat himself put up a valiant fight here. We're killing a lot of stuff on the board, which is great news. But unfortunately, this Swain can just face tank 5 of my units and has no problem with it, despite the fact that there is a healing reduction applied to it at all times. Thank you, Mort Dog. Thank you, Riot. But yeah, is what it is. This was a pretty strong lobby, so I was pretty happy just to be in the top 4. And yeah, we got a little bit unlucky with our RNG. We should be sweating our positioning a bit more to try and pull that. Yeah, exactly. Try to pull the carries in, but we think maybe a few more Sand Soldiers might help out a bit more, prevent some Lee Sin kicks. And we're playing against Stronger, the other guy, so we can't say it was just the 2-star Swain guy that kicked our butt, because this guy also had a super strong board with that 3-star Yasuo with near perfect items or perfect items. And unfortunately, he is able to just smurf on our whole team and 1v6. You can't win them all, guys, but GG, well played. Thank you for joining us. Again, really appreciate it if you're still here. Please like and subscribe. Yeah, more videos coming soon. Cheers, guys. Thanks.